If anyone had told me that turning 72 would feel like being shoved onto a roller coaster nobody asked to ride, I would have laughed. But that year, yeah, it punched me right in the throat. My name's Evelyn Harper, but most folks around the neighborhood just call me Ms. Evie. I'm the lady who still cuts her own grass, still drives her dusty old Ford, and still believes a strong cup of coffee can fix almost anything. And honestly, life was finally leveling out after losing my husband Carter. We'd had 42 wild years together, some good, some rough, all ours. But on a random Thursday morning, while I was sanding down an old oak chair in my garage, everything shifted. And the person who flipped my world upside down wasn't a stranger. It was my own son, David, my firstborn, my heart, my biggest headache since 1979. He walked into my garage like he owned the place, waving some fancy brochure in my face. "Mom, you can't keep working like this. You need real support. A protected financial chair program is the safest thing for someone your age." I frowned. "Protected what now?" He sighed like I was a toddler learning shapes. "Mom, it's basically a system where professionals help you manage your money. It keeps your accounts safe, keeps you from making mistakes." Mistakes? I put my sander down and gave him a look every mom masters by year 3. "Boy, I've been paying bills since you knew how to not eat glue." He kept going anyway. David always keeps going when he wants something. "Look, Mom, just sign the paperwork. They'll take over your accounts and make sure everything's handled right." Everything in my gut screamed, "Nope." But I didn't say anything, not yet. I just stared at him while he shifted from foot to foot like he was hiding something behind this back. And knowing David, he probably was. Carter used to warn me. "He's good to talking, Evelyn, real good, but don't let that boy turn you into something stupid." Turned out, Carter was right. Again. David left in a huff when I didn't sign anything. Drove off in that least luxury SUV he can't afford, muttering something about old people being stubborn. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost sprained something. I felt that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Later that evening, I got a call from my bank. The young woman on the line sounded nervous. "Miss Harper, we received the request to transfer control of your accounts to the Evergreen Financial Care office. We just need your verbal confirmation." Verbal confirmation. My stomach dropped. "Ma'am," I said slowly, "I never made any request. Cancel it now." She froze, but the request was signed digitally this morning with your name. With my name. I felt my blood go cold. David. It had to be David. He was pushing that program too hard for it to be innocent. I hung up without another word and walked back into my garage, staring at the half-standed oak chair. The wood dust swirled in the air like a warning sign. I'd seen this type of move before. Maybe not from David, but from people who think older folks are easy prey, easy signatures, easy targets. They forget one thing. We didn't survive this long by being stupid. I sat on my work stool, fists tight, because if David forged my digital approval, then my own son was trying to take control of my entire savings, and I wasn't about to let that slide. But the real shocker wasn't that David tried to steal my money. It was discovering who helped him, someone closer to me than I ever realized.
I didn't sleep that night, not even a nap. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning like it was thinking faster than I could. Every time I closed my eyes, All I saw was that digital signature. My name written by someone else's hand. David's hand. By sunrise, I was fully awake, fully irritated, and fully ready to raise hell if I had to. Before grabbing breakfast, I checked my email. My inbox was packed with notifications from banks, insurance companies, even my Medicare portal. Alerts saying someone had attempted access, but it was blocked due to inconsistent login behavior. My heart thumped so loud, I swear the walls were listening. This wasn't just one forged request. Someone was trying to move through every financial door I had. And here's the kicker. They were using correct info. Stuff only people close to me would know. Birth dates, account hints, security questions about Carter's old fishing trips. That's when my gut tightened. David wasn't smart enough to pull all this off alone. He could barely fill out his own taxes without Googling, what is a W-2? So who found the details? Who coached him? Who walked him through the entire scheme? I wouldn't get my answer until later that morning. Around 10 a.m., I grabbed my keys and stepped outside to head to the bank in person. That's when I saw her, standing on her porch across the street, arms folded, wearing that nosy look she's famous for. My neighbor, Mrs. Gloria Becker. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Gloria, but the woman could hear a mouse sneeze 2 houses over. She's retired, bored, and has binoculars that she claims are for bird watching. The baby, she knows every trash schedule, every argument, every Amazon package everyone gets. She called out, "Avy, everything all right, sweetheart?" I forced a smile. "Morning, Gloria. Just heading out." But she didn't move, didn't blink, just sort of stared at me with that "I know something you don't know" fix. Finally, she stepped closer. "Before you go anywhere," she lowered her voice, "your David was here yesterday while you were out." My stomach paused mid-plummet. What do you mean he was here?" She pursed her lips. "He had a folder, thick one, kept going in and out of your mailbox, pacing up and down your walkway like a squirrel, deciding which nut skill to steal." I blinked. "My mailbox?" "Mm-hmm." Gloria nodded, and he wasn't alone. My heart thumped. Who was with him? Gloria leaned in like she was telling me CIA secrets. Someone in a great suit. Some girl, young, slit hair, looked like she ate paperwork for breakfast. I felt something in my stomach twist. A Mandarin, a banker. "Maybe," Gloria said. She was giving him instructions. That's all I know. Instructions. Not advice, not help, not concern for me. Instructions. That connected the last dot I'd been avoiding. If David was trying to find me into some fake financial care program, and a woman in a suit helped him do it, and he knew the answers to my security questions, then someone had access to my private document. Someone that had been inside my house before. Someone who had a reason to dig around. I got into my car with my heart racing. Was it a binger, a legal rep, stranger pub, pretending to help seniors? I arrived in the bank ready for war, but when I walked in, the young teller looked up at me with a pale face. She said, "Oh, Miss Harper, you here? The manager has been trying to reach you." "The manager? Why?" She rushed to the back office and returned with Mr. Carson, the bank manager, a tall man who always looked like he smelled something suspicious. He shut the office door behind us. "Miss Harper," he said, "we need to talk." The system flagged something serious. Someone accessed your set deposit account. My heart stopped. I haven't touched that account in 10 years. I know. That's why we checked the camera logs. He slid a photo across the desk. I felt my chest collapse. There on the grainy timestamp screen was a clear image of the person who opened my safe deposit box using a fake authorization card. Not David, not a Mrs. B. Suitin woman, and not a stranger. It was someone I trusted far more than both combined. Someone have been in my house, in my life, in my business. Someone who knew everything. It was my daughter-in-law, Rachel. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because inside the safe deposit box, she didn't take money. She took something far more dangerous and far more valuable.
I stared at that security photo like it was a punch I didn't see coming. Rachel, my daughter-in-law, the woman who hugged me tight every Christmas, who brought over casserole when Carter died, who called me mom like she actually meant it. And there she was, caught on camera using a fake authorization card to open my safe deposit box. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or laugh at the insanity of it all. Mr. Carlson slid the picture closer. We double-checked, Miss Harper. No doubt that's her. My voice shook. What did she take? He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. Mr. Carlson, what's missing? He sighed like a man carrying a secret that weighed too much. Not money, something else. My heart slammed against my ribs. Something else? What something? We reviewed the inventory from her last visit years ago and compared it to what's inside now. You looked me dead in the eye. The only thing missing is a set of documents. Documents. Not jewelry, not cash, not valuables. Documents. My stomach twisted because I knew exactly which documents I had locked away 10 years ago. The ones Carter and I promised we never let anyone get their hands on. My woodworking business papers. The originals. He nodded. The ones that prove the ownership. Tax IDs, invoices, everything. I felt dizzy. See, people thought my little garage hobby started after Carter died. A grieving widow tinkering with old chairs. But the truth, Carter and I have been restoring and flipping antique furniture for 20 years. Quietly, privately, off the books for most of it. Not illegal. We paid taxes, don't worry. But it was our secret hustle. Our backup plan, our safety net. And half the money we ever made was sitting in an investment account under a business name nobody knew belonged to me. That paperwork was proof Rachel had no business touching. I clenched the edge of the desk. Why would she take those? Mr. Carlton exhaled. Because someone tried opening an account yesterday under your business name that claimed to be the new owner. My whole body went numb. The new owner? I whispered. Miss Harper, someone trying to claim your business is theirs. The walls felt like they were spinning around me. Rachel, it had to be her. She had the charm, the smile, the fake innocence, the whole I'm just the helpful daughter-in-law act. Meanwhile, she and David were probably plotting their next move behind my back. I walked out of the bank in a daze. My hands are shaking so hard I almost dropped my keys. The sunlight felt too bright, the trees too loud. Rachel, the one I trusted, the one who held my grandbaby in her arms, the one who cried on my shoulder when her mother passed. And she stole my identity, stole my business,
stole the proof of everything Carter and I built together. As I sat in my car, trying not to fall apart, my phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "Hey Mom, are you busy? Davey and I want to stop by tonight. We have a special surprise we think you'll love." A surprise? A surprise? Oh, I had a surprise for them too. I deleted her text, started the car, and drove home with a plan for me in my mind. Sharp, cold, and more dangerous than anything they were ready for. Because they thought they were playing chess with an old woman with the shaky hands, but they forgot something important. I built my life with a man who taught me how to fight quietly, strategically, and without warning. And I was about to show them exactly who they messed with. But before Rachel and David could even make it to my house that night, someone else showed up first. And what they brought with them changed the entire game.
I got home running on pure adrenaline, the kind that tastes metallic in the back of your throat. I tossed my keys on the counter and paced the kitchen like a lion that just realized the cage door was never locked. Rachel stealing my business documents. David forging my digital signature. Both of them plotting to move my money and freeze my accounts. Yeah, if they thought they were dealing with fragile little senior citizen Evie, they were about 10 decades off. I was halfway through making a pot of coffee I knew damn well I didn't need when someone knocked on the door. 3 firm hits. Not friendly, not timid, serious. I peeked through the window. Not Rachel, not David, not a neighbor. It was Officer Leon Cortez, the community liaison cop who usually handled noise complaints and runaway dogs. Something in my gut twisted. He never knocked at my door unless something was wrong. I opened it slowly. "Good morning, officer." He tipped his hat. "You got a minute, Miss Harper? We need to talk." My throat tightened. "What happened?" He stepped inside, hat off, eyebrows knitted with worry. "I'm going to get straight to it. We received a report this morning involving your address." My heart dropped. "A report? About what?" He hesitated, the way people do when they're about to deliver that news. "Miss Harper, someone filed a wellness concern about you. Claims you're having memory issues, confusion, forgetting important things. They said you needed protection from financial exploitation." My jaw nearly hit the damn floor. Memory issues? Confusion? Are you kidding me? Officer Cortez continued. The complaint was detailed, very detailed, enough that social services requested a quick visit. Social services. My chest burned like someone pressed a hot iron into it. "Officer Cortez, who filed that report?" He exhaled slowly. "I probably shouldn't say until paperwork clears, but off the record." He leaned in and whispered, "Your son." My brain went static. David filed a wellness complaint. That explained everything. The fake signatures, the account takeover, the push for that care program. He wasn't just trying to steal my finances. He was trying to prove I wasn't competent, to make it legal. My knees nearly buckled, but I forced myself upright. That boy's out of his mind if he thinks I'm going into some state-run financial prison. Officer Cortez lifted his hands. "Look, if you need an attorney..." "Oh, I got more than an attorney." I grabbed my purse. "I have proof. I have receipts. And I have no intention of letting that boy..."
put me in some state-run financial prison. Erased Rose, where are you headed? Oh, to fix this mess before they try anything else. I stepped outside, locked my door, and marched towards my garage, the place where all my real power was hiding. Because there's something Rachel didn't know when she stole those documents from the safe deposit box. I kept the originals, but Carter kept backups hidden, secret, somewhere only I knew. And if Rachel and David thought their little scheme was airtight, well, they were about to learn what a 72-year-old widow with grit and rage and a master carpenter for a late husband was capable of. But just as I opened the garage to retrieve Carter's hidden stash, I found something inside that froze me in place, something that proved Rachel's plan was far bigger and far more dangerous than I ever imagined.
The garage was supposed to be my safe place, the one corner of life where things made sense. Wood in, furniture out, sandpaper, varnish, the smell of sawdust dancing in the air like a memory of Carter laughing beside me. But when I pushed the door open that afternoon, the air felt wrong, heavy, like someone else's breath was still lingering inside. Something was off, way off. My tools, they weren't where I left them. My sanding blocks were stacked too neatly. The tarp covering Carter's old workbench was half shifted, like someone lifted it and put it back in a hurry. And then I saw it, right in the middle of the garage floor. A small black rectangular device with a blinking red light. At first I thought it was a kid's toy. Maybe it's something a neighbor dropped, but when I picked it up, it wasn't a toy. It was a tiny audio recorder, digital, high quality, still recording. Someone was listening to me, recording my conversations, recording me. I thought my stomach dropped so fast it could have hit the floor. No, I whispered. Someone was spying on me, watching my movements, listening for information, trying to gather proof to make me look unstable or worse. And there was only one person, sneaky enough and stupid enough to plant this in my garage. Rachel. She stole my business documents, filed fake claims, helped David forge digital signatures, and now she planted a listening device in my garage to prove I wasn't in my right mind. I swear my heartbeat turned into a drum line. I checked the walls, behind boxes, under the bench, next to the paint cans. That's when I found two more little devices hidden in random corners, tucked under a shelf, inside an old coffee tin, one taped behind my spare folding chair. My entire garage was bugged. They weren't just trying to steal my business. They were trying to build a whole case that I couldn't handle my own wife. No, I whispered, my voice shaking between anger and heartbreak. You two crossed the line. You crossed the damn state line. I gathered all three devices, wrapped them in a rack, and threw them into an empty drawer. I needed air, space, time to think. But instead, I felt the ghost of Carter standing behind me, arms crossed, shaking his head with that "Evie, you better fight back" look. Well, babe, I'm about to. Before grabbing Carter's hidden stash, I went to the old trunk in the corner, the one he made during his final months. Folks always thought he was fragile by then, but he put more secrets into that trunk than most men put into their whole lives. The trunk had a false bottom. Most people never noticed.
Rachel's shirt then. Under the floss panel sat a sealed manila envelope with my name written in Carter's handwriting, shaky but still strong. Inside, not the business papers, I kept those elsewhere. This envelope held something I hadn't seen in years. Carter's old journal, the one he wrote in during the years he and I built our sanitary business from scratch. I opened it slowly, pages worn, ink faded. But in the back pocket, I found something that hit me like a freight train. A notarized amendment Carter made before he passed. A legally binding document, one that transferred sole ownership of the entire business, accounts, assets, profits to me, with instructions on what to do if anyone tried to claim a piece of it, including family. I almost cried. He knew. He had always known people might come threat. And Rachel? She had no clue this document existed. My hand shook as I slipped it into my purse. This wasn't just a piece of paper. This was a weapon. Just as I closed the trunk, I heard a car pull into my driveway. My heart jumped. I wiped my face, stood up straight, and tightened my grip on my purse. This was it. I walked to the front door and peeked out the window. Not Rachel's SUV. Not David's not silver track. It was someone completely different. Someone I hadn't seen in months. Someone who had absolutely no business showing up today. My late husband's brother, Marshall. And he looked terrified. But the first words out of Marshall's mouth nearly knocked me off my feet. Because he wasn't here to visit. He was here to warn me.
I swung the door open before Marshall could even knock twice. The man looked like he'd sprinted from another state. Sweaty, shaky, hair sticking out like it was holding secrets hostage. And Marshall Harper was never the nervous type. That man strutted through life like every room belonged to him. But right now, he looked like fear itself had been chasing him down my driveway. "Marshall," I breathed. "What on earth?" He pushed past me and shut the door behind us so fast the walls shook. "Evie, we gotta talk right now." My pulse kicked into overdrive. "You want to tell me why you barged into my house like you're running from the law?" He rubbed his face with both hands. "Because I just might be." I blinked. "What?" He dropped onto my couch like his knees gave up on living. "Your son, your daughter-in-law, they're messing with names they shouldn't be messing with, and someone's dragging me into it." My stomach plummeted again. I was running out of places for it to fall. "Marshall, slow down. Tell me what's going on." He looked up at me, eyes glossy, scared. He said, "I got a call last night from a friend who works at a credit union over in Millstone. Said someone filed a claim under Carter's name, a fraudulent one. Tried to access an old account under the Harper & Sons Restoration business title." My breath snagged. "The business named Carter retired years ago?" "The same one," he nodded, "and your name was listed as secondary." Secondary? My skin felt cold. Marshall continued, voice trembling. "And Evie, the person who submitted the claim, used my information too. My old address, my social security number, my birth date, all of it." I felt the room tilt. Why would they use your identity? He swallowed hard. Because someone wanted to recreate the business legally. With Carter gone and you looking unfit, they needed a male Harper to satisfy the old registration rules. I froze. Old rules.
Rose Carter told me years ago when we were filing paperwork for the business structure. Rules that Rachel wouldn't know unless she got the documents from the safe deposit box, the one she stole. She must have read everything. She must have understood how the business was originally formed. She must have figured out they needed a Harper man to make the scam look clean. And Marshall was the perfect puppet. I sat down slowly. Marshall, did David and Rachel contact you? His jaw tightened. Evie, they came to my house 2 nights ago. Told you were slipping mentally, that you were making dangerous financial decisions, said they were trying to save you from losing everything. My hands curled into fists. Those little, he cut me off, voice breaking. They wanted me to sign papers, giving David temporary control of the business for your safety. When I refused, his voice cracked. They threatened me, Evie. Threatened a grown man. Threatened Carter's brother. How deep were they in this mess? I sat forward, elbows on my knees. Evie, what kind of threats? He stared at me like he was afraid to speak the words. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd report me for tax fraud using the fake documents they made. My whole body went cold. And they said they'd tell the county you were unsafe alone, that they'd take over your assets fast, one way or another. I sucked in a hard breath. Oh, I'm going to bury those two. Marshall grabbed my hand. Evie, this is bigger than just stolen documents. They're working with someone who knows exactly how these legal loopholes work, someone who told them exactly what to file, when to file it, and how to manipulate the system. Someone in a gray suit, someone who visited my house, someone who stood with David at my mailbox. I thought the pieces snapping into place like puzzle edges sharp in my betrayal. I took a deep breath. Marshall, tell me everything. Who were they working with? He opened his mouth, but the words never came. Because right then, a car pulled into my driveway. Not David, not Rachel. A sleek, dark sedan. Government plates. Marshall stood up. That. Evie, that's them. That's the person. That's the one they brought to my house. My heart thudded so hard, I swear it shook the windows. The car door opened. A woman stepped out. Gray suit, black binder, cold expression. She walked straight toward my door like she owned the sidewalk. And the moment she flashed her badge, I realized David and Rachel weren't just scheming with some random consultant. They were working with someone who had the legal power to destroy my life with one signature.
Marshall practically glued himself to the side window, watching the woman step out of that dark sedan like she was starring in a crime drama. Black heels, gray suit, clipboard hugged tight to her chest like it was full of secrets. And that badge, shiny enough to blind someone with guilt. I opened the door before she could knock. "Afternoon," she said, voice crisp like she practiced authority in the mirror. "Mrs. Evelyn Harper?" I nodded slowly. "That's me. And you are?" She held up her ID. "Dana Sturgis, county probate investigator." County probate investigator. My chest tightened. Those were 3 words you only wanted to see when you were already dead or fighting not to lose everything you owned. Marshall muttered under his breath, "Oh, hell." Dana tugged her badge away. "May I come in? We've received multiple reports concerning your cognitive state and financial safety." I nearly barked out a laugh. "Cognitive state?" I asked. "Who filed these reports?" Her face remained stone.
Reports were submitted by concerned relatives and a third party who visited your residence recently. A third party. Gray suit. Clipboard. The same woman Gloria saw. I stepped aside, but only halfway. Come in, but only the living room, and keep your hands off my mail. Marshall shot me a look like, Evie, maybe don't sass the lady who can turn your life upside down, but I ignored him. Dana sat, crossing her legs neatly. She opened her binder. Mrs. Harper, this isn't standard wellness screening. The county hath received claims that you've exhibited confusion, forgetfulness, emotional instability, and poor judgment in handling finances. Every accusation was a punch in the ribs. Forgetfulness, confusion, poor judgment. Honey, the only poor judgment around here was me letting my son marry Rachel. Before I could speak, Dana continued. We have also received documentation concerning erratic woodworking activity, unsafe tool operation, and questionable profit reporting from a former side business. My blood boiled. Let me guess, I snapped. My daughter-in-law provided those documents. Dana didn't answer, which told me everything I needed to know. I leaned forward. Look, ma'am, may I show you something? She had hesitated. As long as it's relevant to your financial capability. Oh, trust me, it's relevant. I reached into my purse and pulled out the notarized amendment Carter made, the one granting me full and permanent ownership of everything, legally sealed, legally binding. I slid it across the table like it was my one in poker hand. She picked it up, read it, and for the first time since she walked in, her face cracked just a flicker, surprise mixed with irritation. This wasn't included in the documents your relatives submitted. Of course it wasn't, because the person who gave you paperwork stole the originals. Dana's eyes narrowed. Who? Rachel Harper, I said coldly. My daughter-in-law. She accessed my safe deposit box with a fake authorization card. And I have camera proof. Marshall stepped in, voice trembling with firm, and they tried the same scam at my mink using Carter's old business name. They used my identity too. Then it stiffened up. Identity theft, forged signatures, unauthorized access of protected assets. She flipped pages in her mind are suddenly frantic. That changes the case significantly. Oh, it gets better, I added. They planted recording devices in my garage, trying to catch me slipping. Dana's head snapped up. Recording devices? I nodded. I found 3. She closed her binder sharply. Mrs. Harper, I need to see those immediately. I led her to the garage where Marshall hovered like a walked dog with heart problems. We stepped inside, and I pointed to the drawer I hid the devices. Dana opened it and froze. Not because of the devices, but because the drawer was empty. Every device was gone. Vanished. Cleaned out. My bullshit shot in my ears. What the? I cried. I just moved them there. Mr. Trumper, who was it Mr. Trump today? I saw it hard. No one. No one Except my front door suddenly creaked open. Voices. 2 voices I knew too well. David and Rachel. And the first thing I heard Rachel say was, "Just stick to the story. She'll believe every word."
David and Rachel's voices drifted down the hallway like poison leaking under a door. I froze. Dana froze. Even Marshall looked like he forgot how lungs work. Rachel's heels clicked against my hardwood floor. Sharp, fast, confident, like she owned the place. Behind her, David shuffled nervously, trying to sound brave, but failing miserably. "Just stick to the story, David," she whispered, unaware we could hear every syllable. "If she admits she's confused or unstable, Dana will sign off on the guardianship today." Guardianship. The very word burned like acid in my ears. Dana shot me a look, sharp, suspicious, almost as if she wasn't sure whether to believe me or them yet. Well, she was about to find out. I stepped out of the garage doorway just as Rachel rounded the corner. She froze mid-step. David bumped into her back, then looked up, and his whole face drained of color. "Mom," he said, voice cracking. "You're home?" "No, this is just a hallucination. My unstable brain is projecting images of my own kitchen." Rachel's smile faltered, but she tried to recover. "Evie, honey, we came to check on you. You seemed confused last we talked." "Oh, sweetheart, the only thing I'm confused about is how people as dumb as you two thought you'd get away with this." Rachel blinked hard, switching tactics fast. Her eyes flicked to Dana, who stepped out behind me, and Rachel's face went pale. "Mrs. Harper," Dana said firmly, "your relatives have been making serious claims about your mental state." "Just yes, that's why we're here. She's been acting erratically. She even..." Dana held up a hand. "Mrs. Harper's capacity is not in question at this moment." Rachel's mouth closed like a trap snapping shut. David swallowed. What does that mean?" "It means," Dana said sharply, "your mother provided legal documents you conveniently omitted from your submissions." David looked at Rachel. Rachel looked at David. They both looked like raccoons caught inside a refrigerator. I crossed my arms. "Tell her, Rachel. Tell her why you're stealing my business documents, filing false reports, forging signatures, and planting damn microphones in my garage." Rachel's eyes widened. "Microphones? What microphones, David?" She's hallucinating again. I stepped forward. "Don't you dare play that card." Dana looked between us. "Mrs. Harper informed me she found 3 recording devices in this garage." Rachel scoffed. "That's ridiculous. She's clearly misremembering." "Oh," I said slowly. "Funny you say that, because when we came out here just now, those devices magically disappeared." Rachel's face twitched. Dana narrowed her eyes. "Mrs. Harper claims someone removed them." "Yeah," I added, locking eyes with Rachel. "Perhaps someone who knew they were evidence." David finally snapped. "Mom, stop it. We just wanted to help you." "By stealing my business? By using Marshall's identity? By filing false reports saying I'm mentally unstable?" My voice was shaking now, but not from fear, from fury. Rachel stepped forward, fake tears forming. "Baby, we were only doing what's best for you." "Oh, cut the act, Rachel." Marshall barked from behind us, startling everyone. "You and David threatened me. You tried to rope me into your scam."
Dana's eye shot to Marshall. Threatened you? He nodded. Told me they'd use fake documents to file charges unless I cooperated. Dana's voice turned ice cold. Is that true? Rachel stuttered. We were just trying to... That's enough, Dana snapped. Effective immediately, I am halting all guardianship proceedings. And until further notice, neither of you are permitted to make any financial decisions or claims on behalf of Mrs. Harper. David's face twisted. Guilt, anger, panic, all fighting for space. He pointed a shaking finger at me. Mom, you're ruining everything. I'm ruining your plans to steal from me. I corrected. Rachel grabbed his arm. David, let's go now. But David didn't move. He stared at me, not angry now, but desperate. Ma, we needed the money. My chest tightened. For a second, I saw the little boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street, the boy who Carter carried on his shoulders, the boy who once said, I'll take care of you when you're old, Mom. But then that image shattered because the man standing in front of me wasn't that boy. He was someone who chose greed over a family. What happened to you, David? I asked quietly. What changed? His eyes darted away. He wouldn't answer. But Rachel, however, did. Her voice was cold, sharp, and so venomous it stunned even David. Rachel hissed. She knows what changed. She just never wanted to believe it. I frowned. What? Rachel smirked. David wasn't the mastermind behind us. I blinked. What? She leaned in, voice low and cool. He wasn't even the one who wanted your business. I was. And Dana stepped forward. Mrs. Harper stepped back. Rachel wasn't finished. Because at that moment, Rachel said something that made the entire room fall silent. Something that proved the scheme didn't start months ago. It started years ago.
For a moment, nobody breathed. Not me, not Marshall, not even David. Rachel's last words hit the room like a grenade. Years ago? I repeated slowly, my voice sounding far away even to myself. What do you mean, years? Rachel's lips curved into the coldest, most calculated smile I'd ever seen on a human face. She looked almost proud, like a villain unmasking herself in the final act. You think I married David because I loved him? She scoffed. Please. David's head snapped toward her so fast I heard the air move. Rachel, what the hell? She ignored him. I married into this family because I knew Carter had money and secrets, and I knew you weren't as simple as you pretended to be. My heart thudded once painfully. You married my son for me? I whispered. She shrugged casually. Don't flatter yourself. I married him for the business. My hands clenched involuntarily. Rachel went on, pacing slowly like she was giving a damn TED Talk about fraud. I worked at a title processing office before I met David. Audited businesses, abandoned filings, expired records. They passed through my hands every day. And one afternoon, I came across a name that caught my attention. Harper & Sons Restoration. I felt the blood drain from my face. Rachel continued. Back then, I didn't know who Carter Harper was, so I did some digging. Turns out, he and his wife were running a quiet little side empire refurbishing antique furniture.
And because Carter built everything himself, he rarely filed anything thoroughly. Lots of loose ends, easy threads to pull. My stomach twisted. "You targeted us," I whispered. She smirked. "From day one." David staggered back as if she physically slapped him. You used me?" She snorted. "Oh, sweetie, you're not exactly hard to use." I swear I heard Marshall mutter "damn" under his breath. David's voice broke. "Rachel, why didn't you tell me any of this?" "Because you're too emotional," she snapped. "I needed you compliant, not helpful." Compliant, not helpful. My son's face crumpled like a child who just learned monsters aren't under the bed, they sleep beside you. I stepped forward. "Rachel, you stole from me. You weaponized my age. You involved in the county. You tried to frame me as incompetent. And now you admit you manipulated my whole family for years. Why? Why go so far?" Her voice managed her lips turn flat. "Deadly. Because Carter screwed my family." That sentence stopped every moving object in that room. "What?" I whispered. "My father bought a restoration piece from him 20 years ago. Paid thousands. Carter never finished it. He died before delivering it. My father called him a thief until the day he died." I blinked. "Rachel, Carter was sick. Those last months, he couldn't finish orders." "I don't care," she snapped. "My family struggled because of it. We lost money, respect, everything. So when I found your business records all those years later," she looked almost euphoric, "I saw my chance to take back what Carter took from us." My heart cracked open. Carter would have never intentionally hurt anyone. Rachel turned grief into a vendetta and married my son to carry it out. "That's why you targeted me," I said softly. "Revenge?" She nodded once. "Yes." David whispered horrified, "Rachel, this is insane." She turned on him. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but it was lethal. "You just never paid attention. Your mother is worth more than half the people in this town combined." Dana stepped forward, raising her hands like she was calling time out in a courtroom. "Mrs. Harper, Mr. Harper, Mrs. Harper, this conversation is ending now. I need all of you to sit down while I contact my supervisor. This is now a criminal matter." Rachel's eyes whitened. The first real fear she's shown. "That won't be necessary," she said quickly. "We can fix this. We can." "No," I cut in, steady and calm. "You're done fixing anything in my life." She spun toward the door. David reached out, desperate. "Rachel, wait." She jerked away. "Move." But before she could take 2 steps, flashing blue lights flooded through my living room window. 2 sheriff's cruisers rolled to a stop outside. Marshall whispered, "Oh, Lord." Dana exhaled. "Good. It got here fast." David panicked. "Wait, why are the sheriffs coming? Who called them?" Dana turned to me. "Mrs. Harper, did you?" I shook my head because I hadn't. The sheriffs were here for another reason. A deeper reason that made my heart drop straight into my shoes. One of the deputies stepped inside and said words that shattered the entire room. "We're here regarding a reported break-in at your husband's old storage unit, and the suspect was caught with your business documents." The deputy stepped fully inside, boots thudding on my hardwood floor like he brought the truth with him. Dana straightened her posture. Marshall stiffened. David looked like he might pass out. Rachel, she froze. eyes wide, like a fox that finally realized the hunters weren't chasing someone else. The deputy held a clipboard and cleared his throat. "Mrs. Evelyn Harper?" "That's me," I answered, heart pounding. "We need you to come with us to identify recover property. There was a break-in at your late husband's storage unit on Oak Ridge Road." I blinked. Carter's old storage unit? That's been untouched for years. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Someone cut the lock last night. They were still inside when deputies arrived this morning." Rachel swallowed hard. A tiny movement, but it screamed guilt. I took a step closer. "Who was inside?" He hesitated. "Ma'am, the suspect claimed to be acting on behalf of your family." My skin prickled. "Which family member?" I asked, voice trembling between fury and dread. He looked briefly at David, then at Rachel, then at me. Before I could answer, Rachel spun around, bolting toward the back door like a bat out of hell. "Hey!" David screamed. "Rachel! Rachel!" Marshall shouted, "She's running!" Dana yelled, "Do not move!" But Rachel didn't let us in. She sprinted across my kitchen, knocking over a chair, slipping on the rug, grabbing her purse off the counter like she'd rehearsed the escape. The deputy lunged forward. "Ma'am, stop!" But Rachel had already ripped the door open. I swear time slowed. David's voice cracked. "Rachel, please don't go." She turned back just once, eyes wide, like a fox that finally realized the hunters weren't chasing someone else. The deputy held a clipboard and cleared his throat. "Mrs. Evelyn Harper?" "That's me," I answered, heart pounding. "We need you to come with us to identify recovered property. There was a break-in at your late husband's storage unit on Oak Ridge Road." I blinked. "Carter's old storage unit? That's been untouched for years." "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Someone cut the lock last night. They were still inside when deputies arrived this morning." Rachel swallowed hard. A tiny movement, but it screamed guilt. I took a step closer. "Who was inside?" He hesitated. "Ma'am, the suspect claimed to be acting on behalf of your family." My skin prickled. "Which family member?" I asked, voice trembling between fury and dread. He looked briefly at David, then at Rachel, then at me. Before he could answer, Rachel spun around, bolting toward the back door like a bat out of hell. "Hey!" David screamed. "Rachel! Rachel!" Marshall shouted, "She's running!" Dana yelled, "Do not move!" But Rachel didn't listen. She sprinted across my kitchen, knocking over a chair, slipping on the rug, grabbing her purse out the counter like she'd rehearsed the escape. The deputy lunged forward. "Ma'am, stop!" But Rachel had already ripped the door open. I swear, time slowed. David's voice cracked. "Rachel, please don't go." She turned back just once, eyes wide, mascara smudged, hair sticking to her face. "You ruined everything," she hissed at me. "You did that yourself," I shot back. She slammed the door behind her, took 3 big steps, and ran straight into the second deputy waiting on my back porch. Bam! She bounced off him like karma had body-checked her. He grabbed her arms instantly. "Ma'am, you're detained until we sort this out." We had just screamed, twisted, fought like someone's drowning. "Let me go. You don't understand. This is all a misunderstanding." "Oh, honey," I muttered under my breath. "The only misunderstanding is you thinking you're smarter than everyone else." Dana rushed outside, notebook flying open. "Deputy, secure her. She is a suspect in financial exploitation, identity theft, and potentially FS destruction." David stumbled forward, not knowing whether to fight these officers or faint. "Rachel, why did you go to the storage unit? What did you take? What's going on?" Rachel glared at him with so much contempt, it was scary. "Because I couldn't let her find Carter's files first. Those files prove that business was worth more than anyone realizes." My knees nearly buckled. Carter's files, not my files, not Rachel's stolen documents. Carter's files. I mean, this wasn't about just my business. This was about something Carter left behind, something even I didn't know about. I stepped toward the deputy. What exactly did the suspect take from the unit? He flipped a page on his clipboard. Ma'am, we recovered a briefcase containing business contracts, appraisals, anti-purchase logs, and a sealed envelope with your name on it. I gasped. My name? Yes, ma'am. It was in the suspect's bag. Rister screamed. It wasn't for her. It wasn't for her to see yet. Yet? I whipped around. What do you mean, yet? What did Carter leave me? Rachel bit her lips or heard I saw blood. She was fighting silence like it was her last line of defense. The deputy cleared his throat again. There's something else. Dana stepped closer. What is it? He looked at me gently, too gently. Inside the envelope, there's a recorded message. My lungs froze. Recorded? By who? I asked, barely breathing. The deputy hesitated. By your husband, just before he passed. My hand flew to my chest. Carter? Carter left me a message? Hiding? Locked away? Rachel screamed again. It wasn't for her yet. He left it for the business transition. Transition. The words add deeper than anything else. What transition? Why didn't Carter tell me? What was he planning? The deputy held a briefcase toward me. Mel, we need you to come to the station to open everything officially. The envelope cannot be opened until you sign release papers. My heart hammered, so I had to steady myself on the counter. A final message from Carter. Something he left just for me. Something Rachel tried to steal. We hug. And when I finally opened that envelope at the station, what Carter confessed inside not just changed my life, it changed everything I thought I knew about him.
I don't remember the full ride to the sheriff's station. Only pieces. Dana riding shotgun, flipping through her binder like she was preparing for a courtroom showdown. Marshall following behind us in his truck, shaking his head like he couldn't believe his own blood had been dragged into this mess. David sitting silently in the back seat of the cruiser behind us, pale, shaking, broken. Rachel was in another car, screaming the whole time like a feral cat being baptized. But all of that barely registered because my brain was stuck on one thing. Carter left me a message, a recorded message, a message he didn't want anyone else to find. My heartbeat felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my ribs. When we finally reached the station, the deputy handed me the briefcase. Not Rachel, not David, me. Mrs. Harper, he said gently, we'll take you into a private room. You can open the envelope with this present. I nodded, barely able to breathe. Marshall put a hand on my shoulder as we walked inside. Evie, you okay? No, but I'm ready. We entered a small interview room. White walls, metal table, buzzing fluorescent lights that made everything look colder than it should. Dana sat on one side, I sat on the other. The deputy placed the sealed envelope in front of me, like it was evidence from a crime scene. And in a way, it was. My fingers trembled as I touched Carter's handwriting. Evie, for when you are ready. A tear slipped down my cheek before I could stop it. I opened the seal slowly. Inside was a USB recorder, old school, like something from 2010. The deputy plugged it into her system. A small window popped up. One audio file. Evelyn _message_final. My stomach twisted. Dana nodded gently. Whenever you're ready. I took a deep breath.
and hit play. For a second, all I heard was static. Then, Carter's voice. Soft, worn, tired, but unmistakably him. Evelyn, sweetheart, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone. I close my eyes, heart shaking. I'm sorry. I know you hate secrets, but I had to leave this one locked away until the right moment, until you needed it. I opened my eyes fast. Needed it? Needed what? Carter continued. We always believed our restoration business was just a side hustle, something quiet, something small, something safe. But Evelyn, it wasn't just that. Dana sat straighter. The deputy leaned in. Yes, we sold furniture, but some of the pieces, they weren't antiques we found. They were antiques people trusted us to safeguard. My blood went cold. These weren't just chairs and tables. These were heirlooms with histories and values. Some worth more than our whole house. My hand flew to my mouth. No way. Carter continued, voice cracking. I kept records in a second set of files. The ones Rachel stole. Not because I wanted to hide anything from you, but because I needed to protect you from the kind of people who'd come after those pieces. My heart lurched. Rachel didn't just want my business. She wanted the heirlooms, the high-value items Carter safeguarded. For years, Carter said softly, I've been holding antique consignments from collectors who trusted me. Some items I restored, some I sold, some I returned, some I hid. Hid? The word echoed inside the room. I told them I keep everything safe, and I did, until my health turned. I didn't want to burden you with the truth, but I created a legal trust for the remaining items. They're under your name. A trust? Under my name? Dana's eyes widened. Carter continued. If anyone ever tried to claim the business or assets, anyone pretending to know better, or acting like they were entitled to what we built, I wanted this message to protect you. Rachel. He was talking about Rachel. He knew someone would try. Evelyn, Carter's that voice trembling. If someone is trying to take the business, they're also after the trust assets. You must protect them. They're more worth than you think. I whispered, Carter, what did you do? His final words nearly knocked the breath out of my body. I didn't just leave you a business, Evelyn. I left you a fortune. Dana gasped. The deputy cursed under his breath. Marshall almost fell backward. The recording ended. Silence drowned the room. I could barely swallow. A fortune? Carter hid a fortune in my name. Dana looked at me like he'd just seen a ghost. Miss Harper, this changes everything. Not just for your case, for your entire life. My hands shook uncontrollably. But before we could process anything more, another officer rushed into the room. Ma'am, Dana, we have an emergency. Dana stood fast. What happened? The officer's face was grim. It's Rachel. She's demanding a lawyer, and she said she has information that could ruin everything.
unless she gets a deal. I clenched my jaw. Of course she did. But then the officer added something that made my entire world tilt sideways. Rachel claims Carter wasn't the only one hiding things. She says she has a secret about David that you need to hear.
The room went dead quiet after the officer's last sentence. I felt something inside me freeze. Not fear, not shock, something colder. Dana stiffened. A secret about David? What kind of secret? The officer shook his head. She won't say. She's refusing to talk unless she gets a deal. A deal. Rachel thinking she's a mafia informant? Please. I stood up slowly. My legs felt heavy but steady, like they finally remembered their purpose. Where is she? I asked. The officer hesitated. She's in the interview room B, but Mrs. Harper. I'm going. Dana stepped in front of me. Absolutely not. She's manipulative. She'll weaponize anything she can. I know, I said. That's why I'm going. Dana looked into my eyes, searching for weakness. She must have found none because she stepped aside. Marshall followed us down the hallway. Evie, I don't think you should... Marshall, I said gently. I survived losing Carter. I survived raising David. I survived Rachel's mess. I can handle one more conversation. He nodded reluctantly. We reached the interview room. A small window revealed Rachel sitting stiffly at the table, wrists still lightly cuffed, hair tangled from her earlier meltdown. She looked less like a villain now, and more like a cornered animal. The officer opened the door for me. Rachel's head snapped up. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but something sharper, like she was calculating angles in real time. Well, she said coldly, look who they finally let in. I sat across from her, folded my hands, kept my voice calm. You said you had something to tell me about David. A slow smile tugged at her lips, the kind of smile that made me understand how dangerous she really was. Oh, I do. And I promise it'll change how you see him forever. Dana stood behind me. This is being recorded. Choose your next words wisely. Rachel leaned forward, eyes locked on mine. You think David betrayed you because of me? Because I manipulated him? She snorted. You give him too much credit. I frowned. Explain. Rachel tilted her head. Evie, David didn't join my plan recently. He joined it first. My breath caught. Liar. But she shook her head slowly, almost pitying me. No, he approached me long before we got married. He asked me to help him access your business accounts. He was already drowning in debt, already desperate. I just gave him the roadmap. I stared at her, waiting for the lie to crack. But she didn't blink. David told me, she went on, voice icy, that you were sitting on money you didn't deserve, that Carter never trusted him, that you would die one day and leave him nothing. My chest tightened. He said, she continued, and I quote, Mom owes me. I'm just taking it early. A burning sensation crawled up my throat. Heartbreak mixed with disgust. Dana stepped forward. Mrs. Harper, you don't have to listen. Yes, I said hoarsely, I do.
Rachel leaned back, eyes locked on mine. You think David betrayed you because of me, because I manipulated him. She snorted. You give him too much credit. But ask yourself something. Who had your bank login? Who knew where your files were? Who knew Carter's old passwords? Who knew about the safe deposit box code? My heart dropped like a stone. Only one person. David. Not Rachel. David. My hand trembled under the table. Rachel leaned in one last time. I didn't corrupt your son, Evie. I married him because he was already corrupt. Dana slammed the folder shut. That's enough. The officer escorted Rachel out, still smirking. When the door closed behind her, I collapsed back in my chair, air leaving my lungs like someone had punched me. Marcia grabbed my shoulder. Evie, he's still your son. No, I whispered, tears finally spinning. He was my son. The boy I raised is gone. He made his choices long before she entered the picture. Dana sat beside me gently. Mrs. Harper, despite everything you've endured, you have protected your assets, uncovered a felony scheme, and proven your competency beyond question. Legally, you won. I nodded slowly, but it didn't feel like winning. The real loss wasn't money, wasn't business, wasn't documents. It was David. Hours later, after statements and paperwork, I finally walked out of the station carrying Carter's briefcase. The stars were bright, the air cool, and for the first time in weeks, everything felt quiet, peaceful, painful, but peaceful. Marshall walked me to my car. Evie, what are you gonna do now? I smiled sadly. I'm going home. I'm going to open that trust Carter left me, and I'm going to rebuild my life without greed, without lies, without people who want to break me. Marshall nodded, eyes soft. I looked up at the sky. Carter knew who I was, and he trusted me to handle this. As I opened my car door, Dana stepped forward. One last thing, Mrs. Harper. If you ever need protection, legal help, or anything at all, call me. You're not alone. I smiled. I know. Thank you. I drove home with Carter's message playing in my heart like a steady beat. A reminder that love protects even after it's gone. And as for David, some chapters you close forever, but some you lock away, just like Carter locked away that final message, because some truths hurt too much to revisit.
Thank you for staying with us through this emotional journey. If this story hit your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. You won't want to miss the next one. And tell us in the comments,